Members of the company, this is your Places call. Places, please. Places for the top of the podcast. Places, please.
Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the glitz and not-so-glam of Broadway, education, and everyday life with Uncommon Sense. Join hosts Christopher Smith and Sharna Lopez as they bring you the best stories and shenanigans that seemingly prove how elusive common sense can really be. So take a little time for yourself to hang out with the dynamic duo Charnopher. And no leaving early, because you might just miss that 11 o'clock number.
Stand by music. Music, go.
Uncommon sense, the 11 o'clock number. And we are Charnopher.
Five, four, three, two, one. So far me radio.
I sang that so silly.
You did.
No one heard it. No,
Hello,
but everyone.
And they heard me with
Charno fans.
Charno fans. Here
loud.
we are again.
That was aggressive. I counted us in with a little vocalizing. You didn't hear it on your end, Charno fans, but Christopher got to hear it.
I got to hear it. If nothing else, it made me happy.
Hello. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
So here's the deal. So we're in like this time in our podcast where we are talking about all the crazy things that are driving us cuckoo bananas. We had driving and habits. We had personal space situations. We had tipping. And today, Sharna had the great idea of the pet peeve.
So, okay, I just realized something as you were introducing our segment or our episode, in that it's really interesting because I think people who know us probably know many of these, but I also realized, oh my gosh, now a lot more people are going to know the pet peeves. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like, I'm not sure, because then I think people are going to be like, oh no, Sharna hates that. But maybe that's going to change my life, like, in such a positive way.
Right, because then they'll be like, I'll stop doing that.
Noise, Sharna.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
And
our friends in Finland
it's really
or Germany will know too.
Yeah, hey, they will know. That's fine. That's allowed. I want them to get to know us better. I just think it's funny. I think before we get into our lists, like, we've each made a list of things, and I'm sure as we do, we'll squirrel and tangent on a bunch of things. But I find it so interesting that things that absolutely drive me nuts or you nuts or whomever, an individual, another person wouldn't, blink, bat an eyelash at. Like,
maybe.
I find that really interesting.
We'll find out.
Because something that really, really bothers me, like, I consider a pet peeve not just like something like, ooh, that's annoying. Like something that's like, please stop doing that right now.
Please stop doing it.
And
it's kind of a range
like,
for me.
That doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or you want me to bring?
I have no particular order, but I will jump off. I'll be happy to jump off.
Me either. Mine are just like, mine are just all over the place.
So one of the things that drives me absolutely bonkers is medical offices being late. And I realize it's like the standard, but it drives me.
Wait, I love that. That
mind.
Was not on my list. And
I'm like, okay, so if I have an appointment.
That is actually so great to talk about.
Right? I'm like, if I have an appointment for 10 a.m., why am I sitting there until 11:30? Like, just schedule me for 11:30. Mm-hmm. Like, if that's when you need to see me.
Here's what I think. And I think I sort of figured this out when I was pregnant with Sebastian. So it's across the board. It's everywhere. And it's mostly medical offices that do it.
Yeah.
Not so much dentists.
Yeah, they're not too bad.
Like, my chiropractor's super on time, but like a doctor, like your general practitioner or your pediatrician or whoever, right? Yeah. When I was pregnant with Sebastian, I would get so incredibly frustrated because I would have to get off of work and find this window of time and drive over there, and I'm trying to squeeze it in, and I will never forget. It happened all the time. And you get there and you wait a half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be. And I will never forget one time I came to check out, and by this time I had been several times and I had to sit around.
Mhm.
And I remember the woman at the front, they were talking to each other and overhearing them say, and I'm not going to say the doctor, when Dr. So-and-so shows up an hour late, this is what happens.
No.
And I was like, I find it now. They're doctors, especially an OBGYN. If they're delivering a baby, I can't help it that they're an hour late.
No.
I get it. But the consistency is a little crazy if that's like the norm. I just think it's like bizarre. And if you don't, like, some doctors need more time with other patients, but then you should know how to budget that into your like scheduling, right?
Like if you on average need 15 minutes with a patient, then schedule one patient every 15 minutes. Not 3 patients, because I think they like double and triple book each like chunk of time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get not wanting to have like an open time slot, but also get with it, people. It's like the airlines.
Yeah, and that's not an open time slot. That's bizarre. And I think too, it's one thing if like at the eye doctor, there's like the lady who checks you in and they check all your insurance, and then there's the person who does like the few tests on your eyes and asks you if you've changed. And like, if you can go through a certain like thing where you see different people, okay, then like you have that buffer. But if you're just there to see the doctor and your appointment's at 10, like I feel like even I'll give you a window of 15 minutes. Like people run behind or things, but like when it's like an hour.
Yeah. It was almost consistently an hour with my last doctor. And I just don't understand, because even in the doctor's office, there are in between people, because there's the person checking you in, taking your insurance information, taking your credit card, whatever you're going to pay with. Then you have the person like checking your vitals, which is another person, if and when you get to go back there. And then you sit in the room for another like 30 minutes waiting for the doctor to show up. And I'm like, excuse me, hello, carry on, but right here, carry on here.
I wonder, hey, if we have any doctor listeners who are doctors or who work in a doctor's office, I'm always, you know me, Christopher, I've said this a lot on this podcast. I'm open to hearing reasoning or discussions.
Absolutely.
Like if there's some particular reason
that we are just ignorant
then I would love to hear it.
Please inform us.
Yeah, like DM us on Insta, or I mean, somebody help us out, because
I
maybe
have to
there's something
say
we don't know. But
that does not
totally
feel
agree.
like it's very commonsensical. Just saying.
Commonsensical. I love it.
All right, you go.
Okay. I cannot. And I'm trying to think how to say this, because I probably have done it too. But when people say things incorrectly, so like sayings,
like
or
when we make
when
up words,
they say things wrong,
like I do all the time.
I'm not. You know what's funny? Making up words I think is funny, but it's when it's like an actual saying and they say it incorrectly. And I get people mess things up, or maybe they didn't know, but I'm one to be like, "Ooh, it's actually this," and then they're like, "No, it's not," and I'm like,
"Oh,
it actually is." And then they just continue to say it one way. And that goes, so like the term all of a sudden, I think I've told you this.
I don't know if you told me this one.
All of a sudden. It's not all of the sudden.
Who says all of the sudden?
I cannot tell you how many people.
No.
Oh, half of my friends, half
incorrect.
of the people you know say that.
Nope.
It drives me.
That's stupid.
It drives me crazy.
People,
I'm
it's
like,
all of a
and here's the
sudden
thing,
public
you might
service
have-
announcement.
And you may have heard all of the, like, but there are some of my like close friends that I'm like, guys, it's just not right. I don't know why it bothers me. I'm just like, no. And it's the same thing when people say, and Jerry actually called me out on this, because I used to say, I could care less.
Oh, no.
But I couldn't care. Christopher, Jerry, and you could be best friends, because I used to say, I could care less. And when he stopped and explained it to me, I'm like, oh yeah. So spread that knowledge, but also then like make it a habit. And there's so many others. Those are the only two I could think off the top of my head.
I'll tell you one.
And that kind of goes hand in hand. What one?
Intents and purposes, not intensive purposes. Intents and purposes.
That is a really good one.
Yeah. So many people say that wrong.
Intensive? Come on, no. They never? My question is, have they never seen it written? Because if you've never seen it written,
honestly.
And you just hear it, like you can't. I don't know. Maybe you just your brain hears it, and so that's how you say it, and you haven't actually seen it written.
Well, in everybody's defense, here in California, we are very lazy with our diction. Very lazy. So it's like
very true.
Intensive purposes.
It is very true.
I'm sorry, what?
Intensive purposes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is a great one.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any others off the top of my head.
Me neither. But
yeah. But that also goes hand in hand with another one I have on my list, but I think it kind of fits in the same thing, is grammar. I get annoyed with grammar, and I get mostly annoyed with it in writing. When grown adults who learned the different ways to use their and your, and when they write me an email or a text, now text, okay, but like when you see it and you're just like, I know you read this 6 times. Why are you using THERE when it's not correct? You want me to tell
you something? I don't think people read their emails before they send them anymore. Because I've received, hello, words hard.
I have
received numerous emails that I'm like, clearly you did not go back and read this. And it was like missed punctuation and like random different versions of there and we're and were and what?
And I will say, and now that I'm like talking it through with you and talking about it, in our world now, many people voice things. So they voice emails and they voice texts, and that is a very honest mistake when Siri has a bad day and doesn't understand that you're saying they are instead of there. Yeah. Well, you know, with me, I'm always like, Siri hates me. Siri hates me.
Yes.
So like, I could understand that, but I would appreciate it if people took a little more time to review.
I refuse to voice email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound. I'll tell you what. I feel like I can tell when someone has voiced an email, not even by the punctuation or the grammar, but just by the way you don't speak casually like the way you would write an email. You know what I mean? So I feel like you can tell the difference. I'll voice an email draft. Like if I'm driving and I know that I have to send this email, I'll voice it, and then I will sit in front of a computer and like rework it.
Yeah, I'll make Siri make me a note, because knowing me, I would end up asking Siri to like make me a draft, and it'll send it and it'll be stupid.
Or say something terrible in it that it shouldn't. Yeah, that's the worst. All right, what's another one on your list?
All right, another one on my list we've already covered, but I had to put it on here again, is turning without signaling. Changing lanes without signaling. Just use a turn signal.
Can we, again, is there someone who's like an offender of this? Because is there a reason why you don't? You're just lazy? Why don't you you've been given the device built into your vehicle to signal you moving to another lane.
Since probably 1933.
Why?
Right?
Yeah, why? Why?
Mm-mm.
It's weird. Sometimes I think people are just like, oh, I have enough room. Right? Like, I think that's what they think. Like, oh, I don't need to, like, signal because who cares? Like, there's nobody around, or there's nobody. I mean, I'm like, but what if this car, like, you don't rule the road, friends. Like, that's
correct. You are not the only person on the road.
Are in there, like.
Now, I will know. Yes. I will say that I do it. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go on about do you not signal?
No, I do, but there are times when I won't, when I'm literally by myself.
Yeah.
You know, like on the road and there's nobody. But most of the time it's just a habit.
I think it's I was going to say, it's second nature for me. I feel like even if it's like 1 a.m. on the way home from a show and there's not a soul around and I'm in my neighborhood, I'll still signal.
Me, I'm a weird person with habits.
Like part of the routine. Yeah. It's part of the routine.
I am. But I'm also that weird person that doesn't really do habits necessarily. Like some things are habit and other things are sort of habit, but not necessarily. I don't know.
But that is one of them. Like
that's one of those that's like a mostly habit.
Question for you. Do you always put your emergency brake on when you park?
Never unless it's like a hill or something like that. I'm like, why?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
My father-in-law does, and he
I do it every time.
Oh, and then you better let me not drive your car without reminding me, because I have more than one time backed out of a parking space with an emergency brake on because I'm not used to it. And I'm like, why is this acting weird?
I always find that funny because I know some people do it and some people don't.
Yeah.
And when I first met Jerry, he wouldn't do it all the time. And I would always be like, why don't you have your emergency brake on? I think it's like, again, it's a habit for me.
But why do you do
was
it?
Taught that way.
Why were you taught that way? Why is that a thing?
Because in case of emergency.
Of what? Is the whole earth going to like tilt at a 45-degree angle and all of a sudden your car is going to like go backwards?
I don't even know. I don't know. Now, every time I do it, I'm going to be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Do other people not do it a lot? Like, am
I
weird
think,
that
no,
I
think a number of people do. But I only use it when I'm on a hill.
That's like your thing, you know? Like you put it in park and you put the emergency brake on.
Yeah. I also think it happens more with stick shifts.
I have a driving one.
By the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So my first car was a stick shift.
Yeah. And it happens with stick shifts because you put it in neutral, right? Because it doesn't really have a park. That is your park.
And it's ingrained in my brain.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
So there you go. We solved.
Okay. I have a driving one, Christopher. I have a driving one. And this actually happened just the other day, right as I was like, I literally said, that is one of my biggest pet peeves, like in the car out loud to nobody.
Right.
And I was like, I want to talk about this on the podcast. Okay. Merging. I know we talked about it. We talked about it in the driving podcast. Literally just the other day, I was driving. If you can see me, I'm doing like a little hand motion. If you can't see me, I'll explain it. My lane was ending. I wasn't on the freeway. My lane was ending. I was going the correct speed, like with the flow of traffic. Right. I wasn't going super fast. I wasn't going super slow. And this lady would not move. Like I was trying to be like, okay, do you want to go in front of me? I don't care if you want to go in front of me. Right. Then just go faster or let me in because I had to like almost stop because my lane came to an end and she wouldn't. And then she honks at me.
Excuse
me?
She's
like getting all pissed. Yeah. And I'm like, Queen, my lane is ending. I'm not trying to get into your lane. I'm not trying to cut you off. I don't have a lane. My lane is gone. I do not have a lane anymore. So can you please let me in? And then the audacity to be honking at me. I was like, I'm not going slow. It's not like this is news. The lane has been ending for the last, 50 yards.
Right.
Move
it's
the heck
like,
over.
Hello. What's happening with you, lady? Come on.
And it happens on the freeway a lot. And I know that one's hard. We talked about it in our last one when cars aren't merging at the right speed, but I wasn't even on the freeway. And it happens to me all the time. I don't know why.
That's unreal.
Something about me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
No, well, maybe you are. I'll drive with you. We'll practice.
Maybe.
And then I'll just get a bullhorn and scream out the window, "You're an idiot. Let us in."
Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Are my lanes ending? I almost,
my lane's ending.
To be like, let it go, let it go. That person doesn't know. But I almost, because at the next stoplight, I got up in the next lane and I was this close to being like, roll down your window. I'm not going to be mad at you. I just want to let you know, hey, friend, my lane was ending. So maybe you didn't learn merging when you learned to drive.
Right.
But my lane was ending. I had no more lane, which means it's your responsibility to let my car in. Okay. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day. Like, I wanted to teach her. I wanted to help her.
Teachable moment.
She was clearly driving the struggle bus.
Well,
I wasn't even like mad. No, I was mad.
You were. But technically it's your responsibility to get in, but you can only do so much. Like if they're being a crazy person.
I can't invisibility cloak into her car. Like,
no.
I can't. And I even was like, trying to be like, I'll slow down. No, okay, she's going to slow down with me. I'm going to drive. I'm going to go faster. No, she's going to go faster with me. Like,
no.
It was
absolutely not.
So annoying.
Let me just push my helicopter button and just have a helicopter come out of the top of my car and fly over. Unreal.
I wish. That would have been actually really awesome to have been like, what up? This is me coming into your lane. All right. Enough about driving, though. We did a whole episode on that, but it is a pet peeve of mine. Okay, what's your next one?
I love this one. When somebody says no offense or just kidding after saying something offensive.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
okay, this is actually a really good one. So I don't know. I have multiple feelings on this one because I think, and maybe you haven't had this experience, but I think like if I was like said something to you and realized
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, no offense. I didn't mean that. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, that came out wrong. I didn't mean for that to be offensive, right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's where people are like, oh, no offense. But it's when they say it like so flippantly.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, just kidding. Or
yeah. And
no
it's
offense.
like,
And you're like,
but were you? But were you? Because
that was actually offensive.
Right.
Yeah. We
Now,
actually went through a little period of time with Sebastian where he would say something. And when I would be like, that was not kind, he'd be like, it was a joke. I was just kidding. And I had to be like, okay, hold on. That's not like a solving the problem situation. Like you can't just say, oh, I'm just kidding when you said something that wasn't kind or that wasn't funny to somebody else, you know? But grown people do it.
It's so, like,
so true.
Oh, that shirt looks funny on you. Just kidding. It's like, oh, okay. Clearly,
not a joke.
You need to learn how to tell a joke.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. Now I'm going to be like hyper aware of that again because I do agree that people do that often.
And the one that goes
and the no offense one more. So.
Yeah. And the one that goes hand in hand with that is when people are like, they'll say something and they'll go, I'm lying. I'm lying. I'm like, no, you're not lying. You're just wrong.
You're not lying.
Or it's more like, I lied. It's this. It's like, let's go to measure 35. I lied. Measure 38. I'm like, you didn't lie. You were just incorrect. Yeah. And that's okay. I didn't feel that you were trying to deceive me into starting at measure 38.
Okay, wait, Christopher, I feel like, do I do that though? I lied.
I think you do.
I feel like maybe I say it as like kind of like a joke. It's like part of like a
No,
like
it's not. I don't think you do it as a joke. I think it's just in a way of saying that I messed up. But I'm like,
I'm just kidding. No offense. Okay, right. I'm just kidding. No offense.
But it's just one of those things that's just like grammatically incorrect. I'm like, no, you didn't lie. But anyway.
You didn't lie.
No. Well, if you did, I think we need to work on when to lie. Because, not that you should ever lie, but don't be wasting your lies on trying to pretend like you're saying the wrong measure number.
I will say, like, when I'm teaching kids things, especially choreography, I will be like, oh, just kidding. I will use that term. I will use it. And I'm not kidding around. I was incorrect or I messed up. And I'm like, oh, just kidding.
Which also, anymore, you aren't. Yeah. You weren't kidding. You weren't trying to be funny.
I'm not kidding. It's not correct.
But it's okay. But those all kind of are the same things.
Yes.
Some are just, it's the lying one that gets me wrong.
Yeah. Oh, lies. Yeah, I'm lying. Okay, we're going to move to like household stuff. So this is clearly my family in particular because I live with them. I cannot handle when people in my household, mostly my kids, it's usually my kids, will take the last thing of something or use the last of something and then put it
back.
So like the empty milk carton or like the box that had, granola bars
cereal
in it, and they will take the last one. Now, they have gotten so much better because Jerry and I both are like, who put, because the big thing is they'll be like, oh, I'll come in there. I'm like, you want a glass of milk? Well, there's no more milk because somebody put it back. I can't go buy milk if you guys don't. We have like a system. Right. If you use the last of it, you throw it away and you write it on our list. So whoever goes to the grocery store, and now that they're older, it's not that bad. But I think it's more common than we would think. I actually think teenagers are pretty bad about it too.
Oh, it's 100% common because it's been made fun of for decades. Like I remember watching advertisements on TV making fun of it or in TV shows.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it. I'm like the first person to say I'm not like the neatest picked up person, but I don't understand that at all. I'm like, if you take the last thing out, what is the purpose in putting it back?
It's lazy. You're lazy.
But
isn't it
close?
Lazy.
Okay, but isn't it closer to just throw it in the trash can than walking the 5 feet back to the refrigerator to put it back and open the door and then close the door?
I mean,
come on.
I don't know.
Oh.
And for a while it was like, oh, I forgot, or oh, I didn't realize, or oh, and I was like,
I'm sorry, you didn't realize that you emptied the milk carton? Did you think it was like Jesus turning the water into wine?
Sebastian and I will call him up specifically. The other day we were at Aunt Kim's house, and they like have free reign of that house over there. They pretty much live there. So they can usually eat whatever they want or snack. But he did ask, can I have some ice cream? I said, yeah. So he had a really good bowl of ice cream, and we went home. And the next day, Aunt Kim texted us with a picture of the ice cream tub. And it has this tiniest, not even one scoop, not even one spoonful of ice cream.
Not
She's
even
like,
a bite.
Oh, gee, thanks, Sebastian, for leaving me. Like, that's funny. And I think when I asked him, he's like, well, I wanted to save some. I'm like, for who? Like the
for
ant
what?
that lives in.
Exactly.
For the miniature.
Like, is this ice cream for ants?
We were cracking up. And Aunt Kim, of course, is so
hilarious.
funny. She's like, well, just tell him next time to eat the whole thing and tell him that it's gone, you know?
Exactly.
Oh, man. So funny.
The milk carton gets me, though.
Okay, I have another household one that I'm just going to chime in with. I'm sorry, I'm taking two turns in a row. But anyone who has a 2-story home.
Oh, I know where you're headed with this. I know where you're headed.
Items left on the stairs. And I don't know if Gina Giddens listening, but Gina and I one time had such a good conversation about this, where I am not certain how a human can walk past an item 52 times and not just pick it up as they go. Like I'll put things on the stairs, you know, and even if it's like 1 or 2 times, like up and down, and then like, okay, but things will live on my stairs for months at a time. And I'm like,
no.
Hey friends of the Lopez household, can you quit? Now they've gotten better because I'm a crazy person about it, but it is a thing with people with 2-story homes. Well, how do you guys leave stuff on your stairs? Do the kids leave stuff on the stairs?
Not really, because Joy's also a crazy person. Like, my favorite is when Joy will leave at the top of the stairs. She'll like put the laundry basket out to go downstairs, and I will full on not notice it and just walk by, and I'll just go down the stairs, and then she'll come down in a little while. She's like, "Did you bring down the laundry basket?" I'm like, "What? Where? Why?" She's like, "I put it at the top of the stairs. How did you even come down the stairs without like falling on your face?"
It's so true.
But it totally happens.
And again, why? Because you're just like in your own, you're like doing your thing.
Yeah, and I'm like,
and I think too, like, and my, yes, I get it. And we get busy, and I do not want to. I'm not trying to be a hero here. I leave stuff on the stairs too, but also it's not like, you know, dirty socks that are there for 2 weeks.
No, we will do stuff on the stairs for like an evening, so we'll like throw it on there, and then we'll grab it when we go up. But
another thing that's tricky is our like office / storage of a lot of our documents and items and like personal things, especially like pictures and stuff, is upstairs. Yeah. So oftentimes when kids bring things home from school and I'm like, oh, I want to keep this in their portfolio, or these pictures I want to keep, they end up on the stairs, and they do stay there a long time. So I am guilty of it, but it is a thing where it's just like,
is your staircase like, wider than mine?
See this?
Because I feel like I don't think so, I don't think I can have stuff sitting on the stairs for that long. Also, it feels different because my stairs are open.
I think that's probably why. And ours, like, we'll make these little piles along the side of the stairs towards the wall, and like you can walk past them. It's not that bad. We've gotten better, I will say. So those of you who are struggling with children's items on the stairs, stick with it. Just keep at it. Because,
it'll get better.
It does get better.
It'll get
better.
better.
It gets better. All right, Christopher, do you have another one?
Oh, I have a few more. So, a next one.
I can't wait.
And I do hate this one. I really hate this one. And I've talked to you about it before, and I've talked to other people about it before, because I'm going to call it the unauthorized name shortening / nicknaming.
This is great. You came with some really good ones today. This is actually yours. You get to claim this one. You claim this one.
I do. I'm like, and it's usually like, I get it. Some people just have a thing. And it's like, I've known people for 10 years and they'll still call me Chris. I've corrected them probably a handful of times. And I'm just like, it's happening. It's just happening. But when I get real mad,
we're going to live with it.
It is what it is. When I get really mad though, is when I just introduce myself to somebody and I'm like, hi, I'm Christopher. And literally within 2 sentences, they're like, so Chris, I'm sorry, did you have a stroke?
Yeah.
Do you have short-term memory loss?
Okay. I'm going to chime in for a second. I was guilty of that. I was one of those people. Now, you corrected me, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, I completely shortened your name, not on purpose. And then, oh my gosh, I'm getting a delivery. Do you want to see what it is?
Ding dong. Oh, I'm so excited.
Thank you, husband.
Cheers.
For those of you who can't see, I was delivered a cocktail.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Boom.
My husband. We were out to sidebar. We were out in the heat all day, so this will be very nice.
Yeah.
It took me a bit, Christopher, to be honest with you. And then one of our other colleagues was doing it, and I remember being like, "Stop calling him Chris," and she'd be like, "Chris, oh, Tuffer." Like she would add it. You know what I'm talking about? And I think it is, especially your name, and nothing's wrong with your name, but I think it is so often shortened. No offense. But it's often shortened, right? Like someone is not going to just randomly call me Shar because my name is not a common name. Shar. My neighbor calls me Shar. He's the only person that calls me. No offense, neighbor Ruben, if you accidentally listen to my podcast. I don't like it, but I actually think it's endearing because he's like my neighbor and it's like his nickname for me.
Right.
Anybody else, I feel like, please don't call me that.
Yeah.
Please don't call me that.
Yeah. I get that.
But I think that must happen to you a lot. Did it happen when you were younger?
So I have a whole history of my name.
People shortening your names?
So
okay.
I used to not care at all. And there was a while where I wanted to go by Chris. And my mom specifically.
Which now feels super weird. Like I cannot call you that.
Yeah.
Feels
my mom specifically hated it. Like despised it. She was like, I did not name you Chris. I named you Christopher. And so, Mom, I know you're listening. So I get it. I'm on your bandwagon. But I really switched back in college. And then I added the W right after college to all my professional stuff.
Why did you do that?
Because there's too many Christopher Smiths for things.
Yeah.
I would see myself.
So Maddie, who we had on, was asking me the other day about her name and how, how should it, what are your thoughts, Sharna, on my name in a program or in a professional way? And I said, I love her middle name is so unique that I really like it. And Maddie Young is not common, but it's also not uncommon. So it's like kind of, I was like, it'd be cool. That makes sense with the W, adding it in. There's like 2 people in the world who have the name Sharna. So I don't really live that life.
Yeah.
But what about nicknames? Not like just the shortening of your name, because I like random nicknames. I don't have a nickname for you. My kids
most
do.
People don't. They do. I think I'm fine with nicknames in general, because they're usually given by friends or a fun thing or something like that. But if it's somebody just randomly coming up with a nickname, I'll be like, no, thank you. Please, and no, thank you.
Christopher's fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is I love that you brought that up because I know that's something you have had to deal with. I don't have that. I just have people saying my name incorrectly all the time.
Charna.
But not like purposeful shortening. Squagila.
Yeah, but
Chandra. Sharoni.
Yeah,
Chandra,
all the things.
Sharona.
But I also just don't understand how people constantly do it. Like after you've corrected them numerous times.
Especially if someone has said, like, this is my name. Because look, there are students, especially being a teacher, and especially now when we have so many kids with some very fun and unique and interesting names. I have one student, her name's Aliana. Great kid. But I remember when I first saw her name, I was like, uh-oh. Elena. And I had to ask her several times in order for it to get stuck.
Yeah.
But there's no specific shortening of I think it's when people just, especially with your name, decide they're going to call you Chris. Yeah. And you're like, no. That's like Benjamin and Ben.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody wants to be called Benjamin,
well, I just
don't shorten their name to Ben because you like it.
People's introduction of themselves, however they introduce themselves to me. Now, sometimes I will ask, I'll be like, so do you prefer, if they give me their full name, that's not a shortened version, I'll be like, so do you like Benjamin or do you prefer Ben? Or the other way around. I have a Nick in my class, and in Aries it's Nicholas, but I heard some of the kids calling him Nick. And so I asked, So do you prefer Nick or do you like Nicholas? And usually people are fine with either. Which
they usually say, "Oh, it's either way's fine."
I tend to answer with, I prefer Christopher, but I usually don't say it in a snarky way. But in my head, sometimes I'm like, "But if you can't manage that, Chris is fine." But I usually say I prefer Christopher, but whatever's okay.
But also, Christopher is not a hard name. I don't know. I think once you've established that is somebody's name, that is somebody's name.
Right. I understand
that it's
one. 3 syllables, but versus 1.
Hey, you can handle it.
That's right.
Handle it. Okay, I have one that I know is we're very similar on this one.
I'm ready.
It is last minute planning.
Oh.
Now, I'm gonna say it with some caveats.
Yes.
Okay. I do link it with like being unprepared for things, but it's more for like people who are like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this. Let's do this." Okay, well, do we need this? Are we gonna do this? Who wants to do this? Are we gonna? And it's this like lack of, and then all of a sudden it's cuckoo town because everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, well, we didn't do this," and then who's got that? And it gives me, I love planning. I'm a total planner. You best believe I have a checklist for every time we go on even like a little road trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, do we have this? Do we have that? I can't, like, the last minute thrown together things. It gives, I hate using the word, it gives me like anxiety, but it does.
But it does.
I just feel uncomfortable where I'm just like, I don't know. And then like the worst part is when someone would look at me and be like, "Oh, did you get this? Or did you bring this?" And I'm like, I brought everything else, or I planned everything else. Like, it's like that pressure of like, "Oh, well, Charna will do it because, she plans everything." But I think I've gotten better at stepping back and being like, I'm not planning that. I'm not taking care of that. I'm not and being okay with it.
Yeah.
But the lack of planning.
What's interesting, because I'm not actually, as you know, I'm not a huge planner. It's not my standard operating procedure. Joy is clearly the planner between the two of us. But I will say, as I've said for years, and I think we talked about it on the podcast at one point, that I also dislike the last minute planning when people get all huffy about it. It's like a lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. If you didn't do it...
It is honestly one of the best quotes, Christopher. It truly is.
But it's true.
Like, if someone's not going to plan or prepare and they're going to deal with it and they have their own mess and their downhill spiral, great. But if I am somehow implicated because of it, I think that's where the difference is. Yeah.
And I'm like, I can make almost anything work last minute. You know us. We can fly by to the seat of our pants almost better than anybody.
Totally.
So it's fine.
Totally. And actually, that's true. But it's, like, I think it's when you feel like you're being...
Don't come for me.
Brought into it.
Don't come for me.
Or do and see what happens.
Yeah, see what happens. It won't end well.
Oh, man.
Okay. Next one on mine. Yeah. This one is more... It might be more OSHA specific, but it's kind of worldwide because I've seen it happen numerous places. If there is a trash can within 5 feet of you, throw away your dang trash.
Yeah. Dude, it's really bad at our school.
But I've seen it many places. It's like,
I don't understand. It's
what?
And it's the same thing.
The trash can was
my kids
2
are pretty
feet
good
away.
At that. Yep. And I think, again, lazy or just not paying attention or whatever it may be, but you're exactly right. Like, if you are sitting eating lunch or having a snack or whatever it may be, and you can like literally toss your trash, even at OSHA, we can make it in 2 feet. Why is it still on the ground? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a tough one. And you know what? I see it a lot too. I will say we went to a couple baseball games this summer and the movies. And those are two places
the movies
where you just leave your stuff. Like,
that
is a common, but it's common.
I don't do it.
And it's almost, I don't do it. I don't want to say I don't do it. Because I have in the past. So I don't want to, because I know that I don't want people to be like, I've seen you. I have done it in the past. I think since I've had kids, I've been a lot more aware of like, just grab your stuff. I will say at the stadiums, I'm not really good about it. Like I'll just leave our beer cups or whatever because everyone's left them and someone's coming through. And it's kind of like, and there's peanut shells all over and your trash and like people just leave their trash. So I don't know if it's like people get in the habit of doing that some places and then forget other places. Like you need to clean up your area. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
I'm going to start someone
else is going to clean it up for you.
A new plan. We're going to make everybody clean up their own trash. Period. Wherever you are.
Well, and it's like preschool. You know, I mean, I say it at the end of rehearsal especially at the end of shows when kids have stuff everywhere. And it's like, if everybody just picked up 2 pieces of trash, this would be done in a second. Like, just look around, pick up a piece of trash. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I only have one more on my list. Do you have several?
I have one not great one that we don't need to talk about, and then one that I like. We'll do the one that I like.
This one, for me, might be more specific.
Okay.
I have a hard time when people eat food off of your plate or out of your stuff without asking. Now, I'm a sharer, as you know, because Christopher, you and I, why are you cracking up right now?
Because I'm married to somebody that does not like to share their food.
No, okay, so I'm different. I do not mind sharing, actually, at all. And you should know that from our snack days in class.
That's right.
Like, I'm all about sharing, and I share with other people, and oh my gosh, you brought snacks, let's share. It's when they don't ask, and they just do it. I'm just like,
I'm sorry, what?
What? Like, I just think that it's a protocol. Yeah,
also,
I'm sorry,
rude.
what? Why is your hand in my goldfish bag? yeah. And I think I don't share my food at all. I'm totally fine with that. I think I see it with my kids a lot where they only have a certain amount of something, right? And then it's like, well, I want to share, but then like I was going to have 6 of my fruit snacks and now I gave 5 to my friends and I have 1. You know, like I see it and their faces like trying to process. But I think it's the audacity that some people have. And I think just like uncommon sense of like, I'm just going to take your food. It's like, it's not yours. Like, I could not imagine just walking up to someone else's food and, like, taking it without asking.
That's bizarre to me.
It happens a lot.
That's weird. A lot. Like, there's certain people I've had in my life where that's kind of just our standard protocol. Like, if there's food and they have it, it's up for grabs and vice versa. But it's with specific people as a whole. But it was more like in college,
and
right?
if that's established.
Yeah.
And if it's established.
And so, But I wouldn't either. I don't know. That's weird. I find that to be weird. Who does that?
Anyway, that's just one, like a personal one for me.
Okay.
All right. What's your last one?
My last one is if you are in public, aka the grocery store or any place else where I can hear you talking, 2 parts. 1, stop screaming. If they can't hear you on the other end of the phone, stop screaming. Call them back. 2, and this is the kicker, take it off speakerphone. Why are you having a speakerphone conversation in the middle of aisle 5 in Target?
Christopher, this is a great one. This is a great one.
I don't understand people.
I need you, before I give you all my thoughts on this, I want you to expand. Do you have any other thoughts or should I chime in?
No, it's really just like, don't have a speakerphone conversation in the middle of a public arena. Like, what is happening?
I'm going to take it one step.
I don't care what is on your grocery list. I don't care what your husband wants for dinner. I don't care that your kid wants a fruit snack from aisle 2. I don't need to hear your whole life story because it's on speakerphone.
This makes me laugh.
I also don't need to hear your argument with your husband either.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear that.
Yes.
Uncomfortable.
I will say, okay, I'm going to take it one step further because now that you've brought this up, I have an additional, like it's connected to that.
Yeah.
But I agree. And I think that we have come to a point in our society where that's just normalized. Like, oh, they're having a random conversation. Like, I love how people still look at me sometimes like, you're having a conversation on your phone over there. You have your AirPod in or whatever. And that's still weird for people. I'm fine with people talking or you're having a conversation.
Yeah,
normal. But if you are screaming, if you are very loud, if you are having some, the other person can't hear, whatever it is, and speakerphone.
Yeah.
Just don't. If you, no. But on that same note, and I noticed this at least 5 times when I was traveling with the kids to Florida over spring break to Disney World, where people don't have the sound off on their phone. They're scrolling through Instagram, they're watching Reels, they're watching YouTube videos, and they have the full sound on. I finally, in the airport, had to look over. I'm sorry, if my 8-year-old child can sit with AirPods in and watch something, your 60-year-old booty can figure out how to not have the entire terminal listening to your recipe podcast. I was like, Queen, you got to turn it off. And loud, like at full volume.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you not see all these people sitting 6 inches from you? No. Speaking of awareness, no awareness. And that is that. I had to ask one lady finally. I was like, I'm so sorry. Can you just turn it? Like, what? Why do you not think that anyone else isn't listening to what you're watching, or that we maybe don't want to hear it?
I mean, honestly. Now, I thought of one caveat to my speakerphone thing, because I realized I've done this, because what'll happen is I'll be looking something up on my phone and talking to Joy, like trying to research something. However, I turn my volume down because I'm holding it like right here to my face. So it's like, it's on speakerphone, but not really, because if you're more than 3 feet from me, you can't hear it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, come on.
Yeah, and I think again, it's common sense. It's common sense where, like, if you have something and it's low volume, or you have this, or like you accidentally, you know how many times I've like accidentally put something, like the speaker comes on and I'm like, oh shoot, like, but when you're just watching Days of Our Lives on your phone at full volume in a terminal, like at the airport. Oh my gosh, that is annoying. That's annoying.
So annoying.
Oh.
So that concludes my list that I thought of.
I feel good about these.
Yeah.
That's all I had on mine too.
Unreal.
I would love to hear other people's.
Yeah.
I would love to hear other people's pet peeves.
Send us some Instagram DMs with your pet peeves.
All right, Charno fans.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us.
All right. So we want to add a new segment today. We're going to add a new segment.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And I think we're going to call it The Real CNN, the Charnopher News Network.
What? I love that. Did you just think of that right now?
Yeah. I did.
No, you didn't.
I did.
Did you really? I love that. Thank goodness I have you.
So,
the Charnopher News Network.
Yeah.
And now I can live my dreams of being a newscaster.
Yeah.
Which is what I went to school for.
All right, so we're going to cut to
a collared shirt.
We're going to cut to the intro right now. Here we go.
Okay.
Welcome to the Charnopher News Network, your news source for breaking entertainment news. All right, welcome to this segment on CNN, the Charnopher News Network. Today, we're going to talk about the new production of Death Becomes Her, the musical. Charna, have you heard about this?
So, very, very briefly.
Okay.
I saw it on some social. I saw a couple things. I was actually drawn quickly, like as I was scrolling from the title, because I loved that movie growing up.
Yeah,
I watched that movie several times. My mom loved that movie. I think my mom's a huge Goldie Hawn fan, so
me too.
I remember watching it a lot when we were growing up, and I was like, a musical? What? Okay, cool. And we did a whole episode on like movies to musicals. Yep. This one, I'm interested to see.
So
I'm interested.
I'm so intrigued. And it stars Megan Hilty and Jennifer Samard. My good friend, my bestie, Megan Hilty.
He is not your bestie.
No.
You're such a liar. I mean,
I've worked with her a couple of times. But
yes.
But we're definitely not besties.
She is a friend, an acquaintance, somebody you've worked with. But like, I love that you catapulted it to bestie.
But
she came to our school and did a master class. Did you play for that master class?
I played for that. That was one of the times that I got to work with her.
I got to meet her, and one of our students was working with her, and she was just the kindest.
She is
just
so
the
sweet.
Kindest. And she's super talented. I think she'll be fierce.
Yeah.
I think she'll be fierce.
Agreed. And she was so nice because I had met her probably 6 months before that doing something. And I thought sorry if you're listening, Megan. I thought she was pretending to remember me just of how something got said. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's cool. But then she asked about Grayson.
Yeah, like, thank you for trying.
Specifically. And I was like, you do remember.
Those are cool.
That's really sweet.
Aww.
But anyway,
That's
so
awesome.
so Megan Hilty's doing it, and Jennifer Samard. I didn't really know Jennifer Samard, but she's done a lot of things. She's done.
I know you were saying.
Yeah.
I have not heard of her either.
Yeah, Once Upon a One More Time, the Britney Spears situation, Company, Mean
Which
Girls,
opened and closed.
yeah, Hello Dolly, Disaster. I've heard of Disaster. I don't know it though. Do you know Disaster?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I don't know it.
Sister Act. She was in Shrek. All kinds of fun things. And Megan's done a
Good for
bunch
her.
of stuff.
That's awesome.
Like Smash and Wicked and a ton of things.
9 to 5.
9 to 5, Little Shop.
Yeah.
Annie, Noises Off. Annie, Get Your Gun.
I'm curious. How are they going to do the special effects? That's my question.
I know. I'm intrigued. But it's already been been open, right? Because they've been in previews, and now it's going to Chicago.
Yeah, and I'm going to research it and see if there's anything that's leaked out, because
You got to send Kelly to see it.
we
and
can
tell
do
us all
anything.
about
We
it.
can have a giant, right? I should. I wonder if she has, actually. I should reach out to her. But I mean, you can have a giant gorilla on stage. They'll make anything happen. You can have, I get it. We've got great special effects, but I think one thing that I don't say concerned, but I'm interested to see how they do it. One of the things that I love about that movie is like when they start to fall apart.
Yeah.
And that's such a close-up thing. It's such a close-up thing that when you see their faces all like funky and like, she's got a hole, that scene where she has the hole.
Yeah, I'm
through
really
her.
curious.
Like, do you
to
remember
see
the
how they
movie?
do
Yeah.
it. Yeah. It's like the candlestick through her
and like
body.
they're gonna have to. Yes. So I feel like they're gonna have to find ways to do it, and maybe they'll rewrite some stuff too, which is totally fine and normal. But one of the things I remember as a younger kid watching the movie was I just always thought those scenes were so funny when they were starting to like fall apart, and I'm interested to see how they do that. And there's a lot of different ways they could, but yeah, that'll be fun. That's exciting.
So keep up with
I
that.
wonder if
We'll
there's any
keep you
songs
posted.
out yet that we could listen to.
I know. We'll keep you posted. It
Death
premieres.
Becomes Her.
Yeah, it premieres in Chicago. Oh, apparently it already premiered. Premiered September 5th.
Oh.
In Chicago.
Ooh, I'll have to ask my sister if she has any info. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it is not set for Broadway necessarily, but it didn't say like Broadway bound, but it's like Broadway hopeful. So we'll see what happens.
See how it does in Out of Town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to hear about
Love it.
because that was fun. All right.
Me too. CNN, our first little stop at the CNN news channel.
Yeah.
Love it.
Charnopher News Network signing off.
Love it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Uncommon Sense, the 11 o'clock number. Check us out on YouTube, like and subscribe. Come on over to Instagram and find us at Charnopher Official. And if you have any other questions, go to uncommonpod.com. And on that note, Charnopher
CNN out. I tried to squish it in there. Squish? I tried to squish it in there.
I know, but we already kind of ended the CNN segment. It's all good.
It's great. It's great.
This concludes another episode of Uncommon Sense. If you're ready for more of this fresh, hilarious, and unique perspective on the world of entertainment, education, and life, be sure to subscribe right now to catch every episode. If you gasped, laughed out loud, or even snorted, share the show with your friends and aspiring entertainers because, let's be real, sharing is caring. For more Charnopher, tune in to their witty insights by checking out the website uncommonpod.com or connecting on social media. Tune in next week and get the real insider scoop on another episode of Uncommon Sense.